All right, you know all about triads. You know that a triad has a root note, a third above, and a fifth above that root note. So we can call them the root, the third, and the fifth. Okay, you're going to think about those three notes, the three snowman notes, as the root, third, and fifth. Up until this point, we've seen the root as the lowest note, which is called the bass note. The bass note is, of course, the lowest sounding pitch at any given point. So the root note has always been at the bottom of the triad. We can sometimes invert triads, and what that means is instead of having the root as the lowest sounding note, like this example here, we're going to play the same three notes, but in a different setup, in a different sequence, where we have a different note of the three notes as the lowest pitching note, or as the bass note. Since we have three different pitches, we can organize these notes in three different ways, as you see here. All right. So when you see a triad in its usual position like this, looks like a snowman, one built on top of the other, that is called a root position triad. That's the situation it's in. All right. When the third is in the bass, the middle note of the triad is the lowest sounding note. We have what's called a first inversion. We've inverted it once. We've taken the root note and moved it out of the way, moved it up somewhere else. So now the third is at the bottom. That creates a first inversion triad. And if the fifth of the triad is the lowest sounding note, then we have what's called a second inversion triad. So I want you to take just a minute here and visually recognize what these triads look like. These three examples here really are the same triad. It's the same sequence of notes. They're just organized differently. With a different note on the bottom as the bass note, we create different inversions of the same triad. We'll do some examples, we'll do some listening examples in class, and you'll be able to really hear the difference in terms of how it sounds different. All right, it probably doesn't make much sense to you just doing it on paper as to why we would do this, but it does create a lot of very, very interesting harmony changes and subtle shifts for the listener when we use inversions in certain situations. All right, so it says, write the two inversions after each of the following root position triads. The first one's been done for you. So let's take a look at the example one here. They gave us the key signature of F major. You can see the tonic triad here, the triad built on F. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so we can look a little bit more closely at what's going on. All right. So they gave us the root position triad, F, A, C, and they want us to write the other two inversions. So essentially, make the third the bass note, or the lowest pitching note. A, C, F. All right? And then finally the second inversion, where you have the fifth as the lowest note. C, F, A. I don't know if those are the notes, but I'm just trying to emulate what it would sound like. You're going to do the same thing for the key of G major. For the key of, what key is this? Well, notice though it's the same key signature. What key are we in here? If this is in the key of G major, this is in the key of E minor, right? Notice how this is a triad built on the first note of the scale. So since the first note, the root note here is E, where they want us to do the same, a one chord in its two other inversions in the key of E minor. Here we're in the key of A major. Here we're in what key signature? It looks like D major, but D is not our starting note. We're in the relative minor key, B minor. And then here with three flats, looks like E flat major, but we're in the relative minor of C minor. And then finally at the bottom, they're just asking you to name these chords, name these triads as being in root position, first inversion, or second inversion, depending on what it looks like. So a quick reminder, a root position triad has all three notes stacked on top of each other. Looks like a snowman, right? If it's in some kind of inversion, there will be more space at some point, like here, or in here, or in here. They won't be line, 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 or space, space, space. Okay? So in your mind, you may want to rearrange some of these notes, move some notes up or down an octave to figure out where the root note is. All right? Remember, if the root of the triad is at the bottom, it's in root position. If the third of the triad is in the bottom, it's in first inversion. And if the fifth of the triad is at the bottom, it's in second inversion, just like you see at the top of the page. Okay, root position, first inversion, second inversion. Go through this worksheet, ask any questions you have in class. We'll take some time and go through these, make sure it makes sense. Carry on. See you in the next lesson.